Welcome to episode 1 of the Behind the Lens podcast. I'm Madison Sharp, current multimedia editor at The Slate, and is very passionate about visual storytelling and learning from the personal stories of others. Behind the Lens aims to highlight multimedia creators in photography, videography, and everything in between. Today we are going behind the lens with Mr. Cody Myers, current adjunct instructor at Shippensburg University in the Communication, Journalism, and Media Department. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, I just want to start this off with saying, I had a conversation with you, 2 weeks ago or something, just about cameras. And I feel like just having that conversation with you, I feel like I don't get to talk to too many people about stuff like that. And so, honestly, that conversation kind of sparked my idea for this podcast, because I feel like people who, mainly do photography or who are behind the camera a lot of the time, they don't get to have their voice out there as much. I know me in multimedia, I'm taking pictures, I'm making galleries, but, apart from the stories I'm writing, people don't really get to hear much from me. They just see my pictures. So I thought it'd be cool to kind of start this off, and you were the perfect first guest I can think of. So I guess we'll start if you just want to introduce yourself.
Yeah. So, like you said, my name is Cody Myers. I am currently adjunct instructing for basic media production here. In addition to that, I do a lot of work for the Carlisle Theater. I'm their resident multimedia specialist. So I'm in charge of photographing and videoing their events, helping with their marketing efforts, social media, that kind of stuff. In addition to that, I've been picking up work doing TV stuff for the Pennsylvania Cable Network. I do my own freelance with a bunch of various really do a lot of theater work. So work with Boiling Springs High School in their productions. I also do music videos for bands, advertising for businesses, pretty much anything that involves a camera, editing, writing. I've been doing it all.
Yeah, very busy.
Very busy. Yeah. Having good time management and an organized calendar is essential.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. I love theater photography too. That's so awesome that you do all that stuff. I'm sure it's a lot.
Yeah.
But
it was a weird trajectory to get there.
Yeah.
So when I was going for my master's here, I got my master's here a handful of years ago. And when I was going for that, I was like, I want to do a documentary, because the communications program, just, especially with masters, it's very theoretical. It's a lot of research. There's not as much creative liberty going on. And I was like, I really want to, I didn't, this isn't an MFA program. So I was like, how do I sort of make it feel like one?
Yeah.
So one of my major projects, I work with Professor Lowry for it as my advisor. But essentially, I did a piece on the history of the Carlisle Theater, and then the present, because it was coming right out of the COVID time. So it was one of their first on-stage productions since the lockdown. I did a 17-minute thing, shopped it to a bunch of festivals, got to travel around. I went to Vegas. I went to, it got an award in Vegas, and it won Best Student Documentary at the Reading Film Festival.
Wow.
Which was really cool. And from there, they started asking me to photograph shows from time to time. It was inconsistent, but then at some point, I just became the guy they called, and now I'm, more or less on their payroll, where it's just I know I will be working these events.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations on the awards. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So I guess obviously you're doing a lot of stuff right now, and you've had a lot of years of experience, but where did your love for multimedia storytelling begin?
I was 13, and my dad rented Shaun of the Dead from Blockbuster. For whatever reason, I thought it was a really good movie. Edgar Wright's gone on to be one of my favorite directors, and just the storytelling, the visual component to it. And I was like, oh, there is a way to be super creative, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. So that was when I was film is the way to go. I learned how to edit. Editing, I don't even know if they still exist, but animated music videos and stuff, where you take footage from shows and stuff. And I taught myself. It was from Windows Movie Maker to Sony Vegas, and then I finally got the Adobe subscription. So that's where I learned how to do all that stuff. But then it was just, I would do silly videos with my friends, stuff that has since been purged from the internet, But it's those sort of really fun, just hanging out with your friends, being silly, doing sketches and stuff. Also My mom has a background in photography and stuff. Like she used to be a wedding photographer. Never really talked to her about it, but like when I started picking up all of these like hobbies and that became like my career,
Yeah.
she's like, oh, you can use my lights, you can use this and that.
Oh,
And
that's
so it's
so
like,
cool.
yeah, it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, I guess this is one of those things. It's like, is it genetic? Is it like,
Yeah.
nurture, like whatever. But
That's so cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's nice having that common interest as well.
For sure. Yeah, I love those like animated music videos. I feel like I watch them a lot. They're so cool. Did you ever like try out like animating at all, or?
I very briefly was interested in that. I did not understand the bone rigging and stuff. Like so like the layer I didn't understand how to like make the models.
Okay.
And I was not about to frame by frame do a thing. I was not that dedicated as a kid. I was too busy into like playing games and like recording footage of like stuff like that as opposed to like the own original stuff. Although there were a few times where like in college there was opportunities to like learn like keyframe animation and stuff. Like we'd have to like make stuff move and tell a story. So I did get to do that, which is sort of animate. I mean, it's technically animation, but there wasn't like original assets.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I feel like what kind of you're talking about, a lot of people who I feel like are doing videography or stuff, you always hear about, oh, I made just silly videos with my friends when I was younger and kind of the pipeline into that. But at what point do you think in your life you decided like, okay, like this is what I want to do? Like when did that shift happen?
Way too late. My first 2 years of college, I was a business major.
Oh, okay.
It was a not great decision. So I went for marketing because I was thinking like the practical application of the field. I was thinking the only way to get money in this career is to like do marketing, work in a department and like do all of the boring stuff. And to be fair, that is where I wound up for a number of years. I was in a marketing department making boring videos that like 10 people watched probably, outside of like paid ads. But 2 years into it, I realized this was more about the theoretical, like, oh, market trends, blah, 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 not actually making the stuff. I wanted to make the stuff. So I started branching out. I took a script writing class, which I thought I fell in love with. I love writing. If I had had more time, I would have gotten a professional writing minor and had a blast with that. But I didn't. So after a semester doing that, I switched majors and my grades shot up because I was having fun. And because I was like a couple of years in, I was able to get into all of the like lower level like classes. So like my last like 3-4 semesters were almost exclusively in major stuff.
Yeah.
Which was super great. And I got a lot of practice reps. I started a club. It was called Kutztown University's Laugh Track. So I went to Kutztown for my undergrad. And so it was cult. And so it was like, join our cult. It's since been
so funny.
It's since been defunct, but like it was really fun. We did like sketches. And so we would write sketches and then we'd like produce them. We made a handful. It was fun. But you know, everyone wants to just goof off and watch comedy. So we didn't do it a whole lot, but I feel like that's half the fun of clubs.
I feel like that's one of like my favorite parts about this kind of major. I know you had like similar major here, is just how involved you can get. You know, like here we have 4 media groups you can just jump into from day one. You know, I'm sure Kutztown is also like smaller university, so I'm sure you were able to just jump in right when you chose your major. You know, I feel like in some like bigger schools you don't get that. You're kind of in like a bit of a wait list, like seniority. You know, like the seniors or juniors get like priority over, you know, getting on the field to take pictures or recording stuff. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's super cool about programs like this. To kind of segue, so you started teaching this semester here, basic media production, like you said. What has it been like working here so far?
That's a blast. I mean, I love teaching. Like it's the impact you can make, and like I feel like the moment when like it really clicks for people, like oh, that's what I can do with this. Like that's exciting. Especially with a class like basic media production, I'm basically lobbing up a bunch of like potential things you can do in the field. And I'm saying, try this out. Do you like it? Great. You should keep doing it if you like it. So it's been a whole lot of that. We've done like a radio ad. We've done a podcast. We're doing like little video B-roll assignments and just trying to like my thought process is each assignment builds on the last. So it's like you add in a new element each time, and then hopefully you figure out what you like, and then the final can be whatever you like the most, basically. That includes all the elements. So I've really liked that approach to it. I have no concept of if it is connecting well or not.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of like asking my students if this makes sense, if this
Mm-hmm.
is something that like is doable, like because it's tough for me who's been in the working field for like 10 years. These assignments, like the whole class I could get done in like a week or two, but that's me with all the experience being able to fly by. Whereas I'm like, okay, someone who's never picked up a camera before, how do I, one, make this not feel intimidating, and two, like make this fun and something they want to do? Because I feel like if you're connecting with their interests, and that's why I try and make all the assignments like talk about what you enjoy, film the hobbies and the clubs and the organizations that you do stuff for, because that's what you care about. That's what's gonna like stick the most.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like I value that a lot in my classes, because sometimes I feel like if I'm told, oh, you have to take pictures of this and this and this, I'm like, okay, I'm just looking for a certain shot versus just being out in the environment and seeing what comes to me, or like you said, doing something I've already been doing that I'm already passionate about. So I think it's really cool that you're involving students like that. You mentioned how you have always enjoyed like the teaching aspect and stuff, but did you ever see yourself teaching a class, like especially in this field?
I mean, ideally, yeah, but it was such a weird trajectory to get there. So during my undergrad, my mentor, that was he was actually the advisor to the club, Dr. McKegg. He was really helpful in getting me on the right path and like doing the right thing and how to like think about what to do next. I know he was like, when I graduated, he encouraged me to like go to grad school and stuff. And I wanted to try and cut my teeth in the workforce, get the experience, because I feel like having the real world knowledge and like what is happening, like because technology changes so fast, like even just the transition from DSLRs to mirrorless,
Yeah.
from drones becoming more readily available, the type of equipment changes so fast, and what people want. So I wanted to do that for a while. And after a couple of years of freelancing and doing my own thing, the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
And life just kind of stopped. So I decided that I was going to apply to Shippensburg, because I live in Carlisle. And I was like, it's convenient. The program was online, so I could juggle that. And I was like, now's the time. If I'm ever going to pivot my life, perfect opportunity. And I'm the type of person that needs to have a million things on their plate at the same time. So I immediately tried to get a GA position. For one semester, I was in the media center, like printing out posters, like boarding stuff up, doing IT, letting people in the SUTV, that kind of stuff. It was a lot of fun. And then I worked in the Office of Marketing and Communications for 3 semesters. And that was a blast. I got to like interview students, learn about organizations, try to start a podcast. Like it was really helpful. And that's where I met David Oliver, who was who taught basic media production before me. And that connection, he told me about the position and was like, you should apply. You really have a lot of fun with that and connect well with the students. Yeah. So very thankful for that opportunity, and just this weird, like just saying yes all the time.
Yeah.
And putting yourself in these interesting positions. And then like I had no idea when I was doing that, a sleep deprived, juggling a full-time job, GA, like school. No idea that like years later it would like work out and I'd get a chance to like see if this is what I want to do. And I'm like, do I want to like go for my doctorate now? Do I want to, keep trying to adjunct at places? There's so many opportunities just because I keep saying yes to things.
No, totally. I mean, you never know what doors are going to open when you say yes. So that's awesome. Speaking of freelancing, I know you're still doing some of that now. How have you found balancing teaching with freelancing?
Pretty much just having my like on and off days. So like knowing that like days that I have class are where that's my only priority. Like for example, today I had a morning show where I worked at PCN like 8 a.m. or whatever. But I know I'm going to be out there by 10. I was on campus by like 11 or so, and I had time to like prep my lecture, go over stuff, kind of prepare the day how I wanted to. It is, I mean, time management is such a hard thing because you think about the time commitment on location. So like I shot 4 shows at the theater between Thursday and Sunday. And I also was at a separate theater filming on Saturday. So I have 5 things that I need to edit. And I know that any given production, you know, you probably 2 to 3 times the amount of time you're on location to edit the photos, get everything ready, and pass them along. So there's like probably like 15, 20 hours of post-production that I am not even thinking about or considering. And I'm like, what is a realistic, you know, timeline for that? And I just, what I've found is like, I just have to be realistic with people. And I'm like, listen, I have class tonight. I would love to post a thank you about like the great bands that were there. I had a lot of fun at those shows, but like, you're not getting that post till tomorrow. Like, I'm just like priorities. And I've been making sure that like my lectures are prioritized. I'm like, I'll get to the grading when I get to it. I'll get to my emails when I get to them. But and like what I am doing to help the students succeed on the educational front, and if they need like into a room or checking for those types of emails and those types of questions, prioritizing that over everything else. And then from there, good calendar. Good. My Google Calendar is a mess.
Oh, I'm with you. Yeah.
But it is so important.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like time management's like the most important thing. Like, especially in this field, I feel like there's so many hands in different pots doing so many different things at once. So it can be a lot at times. What advice would you have for current students looking to maybe do some freelance work in like photography, videography, while also like balancing responsibilities in school and work? Like, I know personally, like I'm trying to do like some paid photography stuff outside of school and everything else that I'm doing. So like, what advice would you give somebody who's trying to get out there?
Couple things. Main one is if you can tie in your school stuff to the things you want to be doing. So reaching out, like I know a lot of clubs like work with organizations, you know, to partner up and make content. Something I encourage in my class is if you're working with a club, an organization, or something outside of work, if you can fit it into the scope of the assignment, like I would rather you do that as opposed to just make something for the sake of making something, like tie it in, get involved, you know, cut your teeth, like doing the reps. You know, if you want to practice something, just do it. You know, this is the time to learn. You have access to equipment, you have access to the editing labs, you have access to professors that know what they're talking about. Like there are so many positive resources. It's just about like, you know, don't be afraid to ask. Like I literally, the theater thing came up because I messaged the artistic director and I said, hey, I'd love to do a documentary, and scheduled a meeting. And they said yes. You
That's
know,
so
like
cool.
it's just about like putting yourself out there. Like it's easy to undervalue yourself in this field. And I struggle with that all the time of like not charging enough, like thinking like, oh, like they're not going to be interested in this, but just put it out there. Chances are there are people that will want what you can offer and can help springboard into 1,000,001 new things. Yeah,
no, for sure. I kind of had a similar thing happen to me. There's a community theater not too far from where I live, and I knew the owner's daughter. Like we went to school together, and so I just like reached out to her mom like via email because I already had that connection and said, hey, can I come in and, you know, like take some photos? I love theater photography. I wanted to get more into it. I had just been doing shows and stuff at school, so I thought it'd be cool to do something outside of school. All it took was an email, and I've been doing it for a couple of years, and I've started getting paid now. So you never know what's going to happen unless you just reach out.
Yeah, and it's all a portfolio builder. You know, even if you're not getting paid, it's just like showing that like, hey, I've done this work, I can do this work, this is what you get, and also this is how much I charge. Yeah, please give me money.
For sure. Yeah. All right, so this is a bit of a shift from what we were talking about, but talking more about the industry as a whole. Right now, we're experiencing a pretty big transformation in regard to, like you said, advances in digital technology. Like you said, DSLR to mirrorless. We have like I'm in like a print kind of field right now at the Slate, but shifting from print to online and all of that. So where do you see, I guess, multimedia storytelling like in the future, near future, a few years, however you want to answer it? Where do you see it in this new digital landscape?
That's such a loaded question.
I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, it depends what you want to get into. I think that things shifting digitally is obviously a trend. Like you see like classic print going away in a lot of ways, but still like it still has its importance when you think about posters, when you think about any sort of marketing material that's in person, like billboards, posters, like any sort of like advertising, like you're probably designing it digitally regardless, even if it gets like printed. So that stuff's never going to go away. I think something that I love doing is, so one of my gigs is I photograph like a market where it's a once a year, it's called the Market of Curiosities, and it's really fun, like vendors, and there's a lot of like handmade stuff. There's still like that preservation of like, okay, these things are still being done. And there will always be that. Artists support artists all the time. Any band will tell you that it's always artists buying the merch. We just understand it and we're supportive in that. As far as like the digital wave goes, it's what you're into. Like, yeah, you think about like, okay, this person's, got a popular Instagram page and they sell prints on their website, or they start up like an Etsy. With video, there's that trajectory of like trying to blow up on like TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, whatever, and then leverage that into like if they want to get into a traditional Hollywood or like whatever facet of the industry, or you become like Markiplier who has enough money to make his own feature film, and you say, oh, we can just do it. Yeah. I mean, what didn't if you have money, the sky's the limit. Like there's also this shift in Hollywood, not just with Markiplier, but also like Taylor Swift when she did her like Eras Tour stuff and like funded it herself and was like put it out and made all the money. It's like you don't need to like. It's the same thing like the music industry went and transitioned with like streaming, and you realize, oh, you don't need a label. All they're doing is taking a cut. So like I feel like while it's like maybe some of the traditional values and soul, so to speak, of the art might be lost, like the artist has way more control over their destiny. And I feel like that's super like powerful because it's cheaper than ever to access the equipment to make stuff. So it's like the barrier of entry is super low, and you don't need to go through the traditional channels. Like you can just kind of feel it out and go whatever direction. So I think that part of the future is very exciting.
100%, yeah. I feel like that's a huge thing for me, is just with all this new technology, the person behind it is the most important. That always will be the most important, in my opinion. And so I think definitely leaning on that is of utmost importance. And as we move into more and more, digitally advanced. So specifically, I'm like a photographer. That's my thing. So naturally, I'm going to talk about photography. So specifically regarding that, you brought it up a little bit before, but the switch between like DSLR to mirrorless, how long do you think it'll take until like that is the norm for people to switch?
It's tough because if you talk to I talk to so many people where it's like it already is the norm. Yeah. Especially it kind of depends when you broke in to the industry. Like if you're on the newer side, chances are like mirrorless was just like the most convenient option. I mean, Canon didn't come out with a mirrorless camera until like a handful of years ago. Sony, really started to get big, like, I don't know, like 2018 or something. It's not been a long time. And so the price point a lot of times is just like too high. But I mean, personally, I tend to like my DSLRs better. There's pros to the mirrorless, but especially because I can get bodies for cheaper because they're not being made and they're not prioritized. Glass is always the most important thing. So prioritizing good lenses, that's where my focus is, because one, they hold their value, and two, like, that's what I need. Like, if I'm going to shoot a wedding, like, I need my 24-70, I need my 70-200. Maybe I bring my macro lens. Maybe I bring like a nifty 50, like kind of whatever. Like, I got options.
Yeah, for sure. Personally, you know, I'm looking to purchase a new camera soon, and it's just, am I ready to make that shift? You know, obviously cost is a big thing because they're a lot more expensive than DSLRs, but I kind of agree with you. It is kind of already there at the point where you're expected to switch. I know I'm a sophomore right now, but just a couple years ago, like when I was in high school, my teachers were already telling me, like, get on mirrorless, and I was like, what is that? I don't know what that is. Like, that was when I was getting into it, and now I'm like, that's very, like, that's the reality now.
Yeah.
So,
and that's, I mean, it's just more to like the point of like following the trends and being like, what is relevant? Because if I did not have the real world experience, like if I'm saying like, you know, if I'm teaching in my class, like, oh, what's the difference between DSLRs and mirrorless? Like, I can tell you, it's like, okay, well, one has a mirror and one doesn't, and you know, it's a reflection off the sensor, blah blah blah. But I'm like, what does that mean? You know, like, I think the value is like having that perspective of like, okay, I've taken pictures with, like, I literally did a side by side of my Canon Mark IV and my Mark II, or 5D Mark IV and my R6 Mark II. And I did it side by side, and I was like, picture quality, very similar. Size of the file, smaller for the mirrorless. It's lighter weight. It's nicer. You know, do I have to worry about things like the banding with like if I have the shutter speed on like the silent or whatever? Yeah, of course, there's trade-offs. But like, I can at least say like, these are the things you have to worry about, you know, and you can make your own choice and like, do the pros outweigh the cons, and you know, what's your budget? Like, I feel like always being in that market of like, I am grinding and doing all this freelance helps me ask the questions that like the individual has to make, because like what's right for you isn't necessarily right for everyone. You know, it's unique to your situation and what you want to accomplish.
100%. I guess leaning more into your personal experience with this digital shift, like how has this shift impacted your own work?
Yeah. File management. So much storage. I swear I buy a new like multi-terabyte hard drive every handful of months to a year, depending on things. I like that. So one of the biggest selling points of going to mirrorless was because they didn't have the that 29-minute recording limit, which, if you didn't know, exists because they were trying to avoid taxes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so the reason behind the 29-minute, or like sometimes cameras are lower, is because if it can record longer than that, it's considered a video camera. But if it can record less than half an hour, it is a photography camera.
Wow,
so
I didn't know that.
It was a way to dodge taxes, tariffs, whatever. Nowadays, not the biggest issue, and most cameras either enable it where you can just do it, or I mean, if you really want to get in there, you can break them, but you know, they're already here. They can't retroactively be like, oh, I actually think this is a video camera.
Yeah.
No.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I guess pivoting from the digital shift, there's also a shift for like individuals as well, with the need for multimedia journalists and professionals who are expected to have at least like basic proficiency in the different mediums of media production. Like, you have to know how to write copy, and you also have to know how to take your pictures and edit your video and audio and do all of those things. What are your kind of thoughts and feelings about this new kind of expectation for upcoming professionals?
Yeah, I understand it and I hate it at the same time. So like, I understand it from the sake of like, especially when I was like breaking in, like, and I wanted to like freelance, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I didn't have a favorite. Like, I thought I wanted to do video. I thought I wanted to be like a scriptwriter. I did an internship where I did script coverage, and I read a ton of films and all that fun stuff and edited stuff. And then I realized locally, like, well, there's no film jobs. I don't want to move to New York. I can't afford that right now. I'm working at a restaurant. And I don't necessarily want to do that in a big city right now. So I was like just saving up money, considering my options. Picked up a job where I was like doing a little video. And then because I was doing a little video for a radio station, they knew a lot of bands. And then I started taking a lot of photos. And I'm like, oh, I really like photography. And like, it's just like that natural thing where I'm like, I naturally learned a bunch of stuff. And I mean, the more you know, the more valuable you are to the market and whatnot. So it's good to know all that stuff. Where I don't necessarily like it is, say you're at a news station, just a generic old, not going to name names, news station, and you are the shooter, the reporter, the everything, and you're working crazy hours, you're covering events, middle of the night, across the state, wherever, and you're only getting paid $15 an hour, $20 an hour, whatever. Mm-hmm. That's not fair. You are doing the work of multiple people. You know, you should at least be valued at a quote unquote livable wage. You should not be like taxing your body for, you know, just to have basic coverage and insurance and all these things that are with that. So I hate the fact that like it's so easy to be, I say exploited, but like to be taken advantage of like in this market because people who don't know what we do think, oh, you just take some pictures. Oh, you just like point a camera, and not understanding, you know, the thoughts of composition, lighting, storytelling, you know, proper everything. And if they understood all that, because sometimes, you know, like when I got let go from my marketing job, you know, the people that have to pick up that stuff don't have those skills. And then you see like a drop in quality because now people who don't have all that experience are trying to catch up. Not that they can't get there. You know, anyone with enough reps can get there. But like, I feel like it's easy to be undervalued in this field. And I think it's so important to make it known. And I think that's why like personal branding is so important and like showcasing all the stuff you can do because it's like showcasing your value in the workforce.
For sure.
Because like, yeah, I don't mind wearing 20 hats, you know, on any given shoot, but like I'm going to charge my rate for that. You know, that's the nice thing about freelancing. I can say like, hey, I'm going to come out to this event for an hour. It's going to cost you $200 or it's going to cost you whatever because I know how much goes into both setting up that one moment and then the after to get it there. So.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I feel like, you know, I have my niche in photography, but, you know, I love writing as well. I'm an English minor and I'm kind of like balancing the both of those. That's kind of why I chose journalism, so I can kind of do both of them. But I totally like get what you're saying. Like in the Slate specifically, I'm in charge of making the gallery. So I'm in charge of all the photography for the different sections. And then I put together galleries every week for the print and online. And I feel like from just somebody who's not in the field and doesn't know might be like, oh, she just like slaps the pictures on the page and like that's it. But there's a lot more that goes into that. And I feel like I wish more people kind of understood that. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And something that I found helpful in my new journey into, you know, figuring out like how to like be my own boss and like lean into freelancing more is one of the first things I did was like come up with like a service sheet of like all the different services I offer and like what that means and what the outcomes are of it. Because you're basically like, you need to prove your value, so to speak, being like, okay, yes, I'm going to charge you this amount of money to do this. But because of this, you're going to get all this traffic. You're going to get new sales. You're going to get whatever. And having that. And I was speaking with a person who makes resumes. I think it's called 6-star resumes And she was talking to me about like, everyone thinks about like a chronological resume of like, okay, I did this thing most recently, then this, and this. But there's another type of resume, which is like a skill-based one, where it's like, these are the things you do. These are the outcomes of like what you do, and you can lead with your accomplishments. And so for someone in our field that wants to prove like, hey, I'm capable of doing this, this, and this, and also here's examples, here's a demo reel, here's a portfolio of my work, you know, and you can show like that you've been doing it, like it makes it easier for people to make that leap and say, I need that. I want my stuff to look like this, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and it's nice because the more things you say yes to and the more
Mm-hmm.
reps you get, not only do you get better at your craft, but then you start to learn like what else people want, you know? Like I personally have no interest in web design, but a lot of people ask me, hey, can you help me with my website? And I say, well, I can tell you what looks like a bad website, you know? I can be like, well, this is like why you need a blog. This is why you need landing pages with good keywords and good SEO.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to design it. I can write it.
Uh-huh.
I can give you the visual aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know coding.
Yeah.
You know, but someone might double with that, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Like this is a field where it's like these like photo, video, journalism type stuff can just be one facet, and then you can like piggyback off that with like another one of your skills or
Mm-hmm.
niches, whether that's, you know, you break into like the theater world or you really like coding and you want to like build massive websites and have that stuff. Like sky's the limit with what you can do with it, because it is a great complement to like anything. Everyone needs these things.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's definitely two sides to it. I mean, it is important. You know, I feel like you shouldn't walk into the job like not knowing at all how to do certain things, but I do think it is important to kind of have your niche and know what you're like good at and what, you know, you can contribute to. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this. I wrote a research paper last year about kind of digitization and photojournalism and, you know, the switch to kind of having people in charge of doing everything instead of just, you know, in the past you'd have a reporter and you have a photographer go out in the field, and now it's expected for everybody to kind of chip in and do everything at once. Something that I was researching in that was that specifically the switch from film cameras to digital cameras, you had maybe if you were using a film camera, you would be almost forced to like observe your surroundings more and spend more time on your shots and get more creative shots, versus now you can fire off 100 shots in like 30 seconds. Do you think that there's maybe a lack of creativity or anything like that now with like digital photography versus kind of in the past? Do you think that that has made a change at all?
That's a good question. I would. I mean, you could take it two ways. You know, you could say, yeah, you can just take as much so you don't have to be as like nitty gritty with like how you go about the photos. You can just take a bunch. But like how I do like a promo shoot for like a play, I'll take it from like a wide, you know, just try and get everything at first. And then I'll be like, let me get on stage. Let me try it from this angle and this angle. And it's like, it still boils down to like, you know, spending the time and like trying new stuff. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But you have the freedom now that film is basically free, you know, because it's digital. It goes on an SD card. And, you know, worst case scenario, it sits on a hard drive and I delete it one day. But best case scenario, you know, I can explore with different angles, different lighting, different shots. I feel like it's up to like how much you want to use it, you know? And I think there is way more benefits to having the freedom to just spend the extra time, you know, take the extra shots, than to be like locked out of it because it's like, I only have enough to buy like one roll of film. I mean, like think about even just in the 90s, a movie like Clerks, you know, was shot in black and white because he couldn't afford color film. Just the whole reason. Took out a bunch of credit card debt, you know, got his refund from film school and made a movie. Nowadays, something like that could be made much, much cheaper because you're not paying for that. And it could be in color and you can get all the extra shots and you're just like, it's kind of like just how much time do you want to spend on stuff? And I feel like if you're willing to put in the time, the creativity is higher. You just you don't necessarily have to plan as intensely because, you know, one, digital effects, you know, can be used as opposed to like building practical stuff. You know, we're not having to figure out how to rotoscope manually and, you know, cut film and all that stuff and be in a dark room. But there's, it's just like using the new tools to express yourself. I mean, there's always going to be people that push the medium forward. That's never going to stop. There's always going to be people that say, these are the tools. How do I break it, basically, in a good way?
How do you feel that you've kind of prepared yourself for this shift we're experiencing right now? I mean, everybody's always learning. You know, even right now, like where you're at and teaching and doing your freelance work and everything else, how do you feel like you're learning to adjust, or any new, I guess, habits or things you're doing?
Never stop learning, you know, for sure. Always learning new skills, investing in new equipment and stuff. Like, I mean, I have my drone license. I want to get a drone one day. You know, it's nice having access to that. Helping out with all the various things. I started back up my podcast, the Down to Small Business podcast, where we talk to business owners and talk about different things. Just continuing to put myself out there. Like when I got laid off, I messaged so many people. Everyone I knew, I sent them a message and I was like, hey, this happened to me. And just the outpouring support, you know, kept me going and kept me feeling positive. And I think, you know, just getting that feedback from those people and being like, if I don't know how to do something or I'm not able to do it with my equipment, what do I need? How do I figure it out? What can I be doing? You know, I have not stopped moving, and I just keep putting myself in positions of like, oh, I'm going to come out and do this thing today. And even if it's not paid, I'm going to go meet with these people and chat about this stuff, and just continuing to say yes and putting myself out there, because it's such a, you know who you know, and that's how you get stuff.
Definitely.
For better or worse, you know, it's like anything. The more people you know and the connections you make, like, that's, you know, it's what you get out of it. It's just like school, where it's like whatever you do and put your time and effort into, like, you're going to reap what you sow.
Yeah, no, 100%. I love that attitude and outlook on that. So nearing the end here, we talked a little bit about current students and kind of advice you had for them, balancing maybe doing some freelancing work outside with school and everything else. But thinking about people who might be graduating and looking to, you know, enter the working world, what kind of advice would you have for them right now?
I mean, I don't know if like an internship is like something everyone has to do. That was something that in my program of undergrad that everyone had to do. You had to take an internship, and that was like, if anything, it was helpful for me to learn what I didn't want to do. And that's the thing, like, the more reps you can get and the more you can figure out what you like and what you don't like, the easier it is. Like, if you want to move to a different area, like, just do it. Like, doing market research on like where you want to be, what jobs are in that area, is the pay there, you know, type of stuff. There's so much research you can do before you make the leap now, you know, and I think that's nice because you can make informed decisions, but also like you can research online, like, how much should you be charging? You know, like, what can I be doing to like build my skills? Like, can I like pick up stuff locally? Do I want to like make the leap right away? Because I know people who have done all the things, people that moved out to California right away and they're doing great. People that have stayed local and they're doing great. You know, it's like just get the reps however you can and keep putting yourself in positions, because, you know, even if it's not right away, like, if you put yourself in enough situations where maybe something will happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. I guess just keep saying yes, like you've been saying. It's the most important thing. I
would not be where I am or anywhere close to it if I didn't keep saying yes. Now, obviously, it's healthy to say no. There are definitely things that I say no to. I want to make that clear, that sometimes it's healthy to prioritize things like sleep and, you know, your health. And, you know, if something doesn't sound fun or isn't worth it, or, you know, like, respect yourself. Like, you should, as much as this industry is a grind and it's a constant like struggle to like, you know, carve out your footing. It's important to not forget to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I love that message. Is there anything else you'd like to say that you want, any last parting message you want people to know?
That's a good question. I feel like I've covered it all. I just think people should believe in themselves and believe that they can do it. Imposter syndrome is super real. I deal with it all the time. I don't necessarily feel like I always think I deserve to be where I am, but at the end of the day, you know, everyone in my life seems to believe that I am, so I guess I am, and just have confidence in yourself and it'll all work out.
I love that. Amazing. All right, that will conclude today's episode. This has been the Behind the Lens podcast. Thank you for listening and be on the lookout for future episodes.